Let's get started. Stand for pledge. Mr. Brennan, will you lead? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Morning, everybody. It's our regular meeting on July 27th. Do we have any exonerations ordered to combine or divide?
Yes, ma'am, we do. This July. Okay, I have these combined segregate things. You guys want that now or?
Not one of these.
Oh, okay.
Well, I found out when I refinanced my house that I have 3 tracts of land. Is that what people do? Like, my house is on 3 different lots.
Oh, it could be 3 lots, yeah. You probably have 1 parcel there.
I'll show you the paperwork when I get it today. But anyway, if they are, I was gonna see if I could.
See, originally where you live now, is that the one you're talking about?
Yeah, we're Thomas, yeah.
There was 3 houses in there all on one piece of property.
Yeah.
And one guy, he lived in one and rented the other 2.
It's definitely 3 separate descriptions of properties. Anyway, all of these are the usual same owner, combine or separate land of his or her own. So I move that we approve these.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Whatever you have next.
Okay, now this will be a new wrinkle.
Ooh. Set back.
No wrinkles.
We don't get these very often. But what happened was there was all people, this I happened to ask the judge. He got 2 tax tickets for his house. And we found it before he found it. Anyway, we got to looking at it and something, I don't know exactly how it happened, but one of them was his house and property, and the other one was supposed to be the next door property. But all the legal description, everything was wrong. So we just canceled that tax ticket. That was on the last batch of, last time I was over here. So the people that owned the other property, they needed to be taxed one way or another. They either had to be back taxed or they had to do an application for correction assessment. Well, I was sitting there typing her a letter, trying to figure out how to put that into words to make her understand it. Well, she walks in. So anyway, she wanted to do a correction assessment, and that's what that is. So the tax office will have to issue a supplemental real estate ticket. Okay, so this is bringing money in instead of losing.
I mean, we approve this.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Tax office needs to, they'll do that.
That's the second one of those I've seen in
Yeah,
6
you
years.
don't see them very often. They're not common. This is a refund that was generated by an exoneration here.
It's in the amount of $83.12. I move to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye. Remember, you got 2 on refunds to sign.
I'm glad you told me.
I'm ready. I'm ready.
You're at the ready. About to hand it right back.
How many times I've said that over the years?
I need to give John my power of attorney to sign because he knows exactly where to sign everything.
All right, now, here's personal property. These are about 2 weeks.
Oh, wow. These are exonerations.
Yes, sir.
I'll make a motion to approve the exonerations Eddie performed this for personal property.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now, the last thing, I saved the good one for last. This looks really bad, all right?
Yeah, thick, ain't it?
Okay. From here to here is what that page would have been. So I got a phone call from Pocahontas Land Company. They, two or 3 years ago, recorded a deed, and they were separating the oil and gas from the fee parcels. So we go in,
The rights.
subtract, yeah, we had to subtract the oil and gas from the fee parcel and then create oil and gas. Yeah, that was fine. So then a couple years later, they recorded another deed where they're separating the remaining minerals from the surface. And we did that. And so last year they said, you guys didn't separate all that stuff. Well, I think we did. And we sent them all the information on everything we did, and they swore that we didn't do it. So we looked back through there and, yeah, okay, we'll create it. So we created 56, well, it was actually more than that, but 56 of them ended up being double assessments. Because those are the ones that they wanted. So there's 56 parcels in here. That's the bad news. The good news is there were minimum assessments of $7.70 in taxes. So 56 times 770 is $431.20. So from here back to page 5 is a total of $450 or something. So it's not as bad as it looks, but still. We have to do them parcel by parcel.
Did you guys end up being right? And then it was a duplicate or what?
We were right in the beginning. Yeah. We were right in the beginning, but they swore that it wasn't right, so
All right.
now we gotta fix it.
That's it.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And it could have been really bad because one of those parcels, the state didn't put the value on them like they should have, and they all came out of the minimum. But one of them, had they done it like they did the parent parcel, it was like an assessment of $600,000 for the coal parcel. So kind of worked out okay. I just wanted to explain why there was so many.
Too thick, right?
All right, folks, that's all I need today. I really appreciate it.
Second half of payroll.
Did you make a motion?
Yeah.
I think we approve second half of payroll.
July 29th.
July 29th.
Yeah, they usually put it on there. They had been putting it on there. No, it's not on there.
That's all right. Don't always make it.
He does.
He
doesn't
does. Getting paid if you put it on mine.
I did it. Second, did you get a second, John? Second. Okay.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Vouchers and invoices, Ruth?
There wasn't anything unusual, I said, keep card.
Yeah, I went through it.
Move to approve vouchers and invoices.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No, do we have a state settlement?
Sad.
Okay. I move we approve the estate settlements.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Other one in minutes yet.
All right, so the first thing is planning commission reappointment for Carl Harris and James Tucker.
We did just select these folks. It's just like trying to,
Yeah,
I mean, we approve those reappointments.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then the next one is also a request for appointment of Charles Small to New Haven PSD due to the resignation of Jean Pennington.
I don't have a problem. I'll make a motion to approve.
All those in favor?
Aye.
I think this might be yours, right?
Oh.
Whether,
I don't know why we.
Weather
thought
does
this
it.
is orders. The rain woke me up, believe it or not.
Well, because my dog,
was the best dog.
yeah, and then, like, I think it was because she heard the tweet, and so it rains a lot, I didn't know.
Are you doing all right down there?
Yeah, we just got a mess. Tracy's home dealing with it, so. Well, you went at 6 o'clock in Boston.
Well, I have a huge like R2D2 size shot back if you want to use it.
Yeah, he has one. Now that the garage is drained, he can lift it.
Okay, let me know if you need mine.
Oh,
Um,
okay.
No problem.
Budget revision. So I emailed it to you. Of course, Tom didn't read my email, but that's okay.
I've got everything right here. I'll make a motion to approve.
A second. All those in favor?
Aye.
Back page is 3 signatures and then Allison signs.
I reiterate publicly that you did a great job with this.
She always does.
He always does, yeah. Very proud of you.
I'm glad a lot of stuff's done at this point.
Yeah, but so what are your days off gonna be?
You gotta sign
Well,
that.
maybe half a day today. I'm trying to decide if I want to leave Tracy to deal with the mess or turn it help.
Why don't you go get your nails done?
I don't do that. But not this coming Monday, but the following Monday and Tuesday, I think I'll be off. And then in October.
And then, I think maybe just the last page. One time for signs last page.
And then the letter, did you edit that letter or were you good with what Amy wrote? Or you want to just decide what you want to do and then do a letter? What do you want to do?
I wanna put it on the next agenda so I can read it, but I would like us to decide, so my recommendation on this policy, this is about with regard to use of the courthouse after hours, is that, because we've had to pay out of county funds, our county employees to stay late when people use the courthouse, the purpose of the letter is to let people know that we're no longer going to do that for private organizations such as political parties, including our own. Because we don't think it's fair to use taxpayer money to pay people to man for political parties to meet. And that is after hours. I mean, I think we're happy to let people use this room when it's available during work hours. Further, any organization that has its own budget and funding, whether it's ours or not, such as solid waste, farmland protection, those types of organizations will also have to meet during work hours or find another place to meet after hours. I recommend we make one exception at this time to that rule, and that is with regards to the URA, because it is just about finished selling Wolf Creek Park, and I would hate for anything like this to impede the progress of that sale. So, and I know Commissioner Luisos is on that board, so he would be here, and if he couldn't be here, one of us could fill in for him and make sure people have access. So we just need to check when they schedule a meeting, make sure one of us is available, so we don't need to have an employee here. Somebody's probably gonna have to teach me how to use Zoom though, or one of us to use Zoom. But
Well, and there's always a maintenance person who they file, because
okay,
they clean up and make sure everything's locked up, so.
okay. Well, they normally meet at 5, so people could get in, but yeah, and then they could get out. But there should be one of us, and we'll just try and make sure there's commissioner here with them. But I would need to know how to use Zoom. I think Jenna Grayson knows how.
Yeah, her and Jeff, I think Jeff even does
They
it.
do it, okay, so we'll have that figured out, but my recommendations are that our policy follow those lines. And we didn't have time because Amy was off yesterday and is off today to get her to make the changes, updates to reflect that, because we hadn't had a chance to discuss it and vote. So I recommend that we issue a letter to anyone who reserves the conference room with that information. The boards I would make exceptions for are the planning commission, which does not have its own budget. It does tend to meet during the day though at the memorial building, but Angela would be here with them. Ones like the Board of Zoning Appeals, and probably at some point the beautification committee, but if we ever reconstitute it, but those are, our boards that aren't funded and don't have their own budget. So for them, I think we should make exceptions where we can.
I agree. Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
So what were you voting on? Exactly.
We were voting on the terms of the policy to allow after hours use of the county commission conference room and its Zoom capabilities
And the letter will be on the 8-10 letter.
on the 10th agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, so the actual letter, final letter for approval, but I wanted us to vote on the contents
Oh, yeah.
today, and then we'll take a look at the letter.
And nothing's going to be scheduled before the 10th.
I don't think there is anything scheduled.
Is the URA meeting or something?
It might have one, but we can handle that one.
Okay.
Yeah, and then you just figure out among your stuff, if anything else comes up, it has to be after hours.
So the next thing is this JAG. So we signed this one before. The grant has already been approved, but they won't let you draw down money until you sign this form saying you're authorized. Yeah. Last time they wouldn't let us draw it down because that form hadn't been signed. They couldn't tell you that the form hadn't been signed.
I mean, that we approve the form.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No. I had talked to Ruth about hoping to pay our election workers and some of the various pay rates a little bit more.
I don't see that.
It's 9:15.
It's on the main.
Oh, okay. All right.
This is the email we got
Yeah, I'm sorry.
with her recommendations.
Yeah.
My bad.
And twofold,
because those rates are supposed to be set by the county commission. And I could find no official record where that has ever been done before. We went back through the order book for the last 25 years, and found no record. I found a couple letters on my computer that Kelvin had written asking for some things, but never found any evidence that they were approved or not approved. So I felt like that's something we should get into some sort of official thing, let you guys vote on it. And it's all up to code, everything. So I don't, overall, it raised the budget a little bit. Ruth was able to, when she did the budget revision, there was money available to raise those line items to meet those needs. So you guys have any other recommendations or suggestions on those?
Well, I thought they were fair, and I thought that Ruth, I know Ruth reviewed them with her usual scrutiny, not just to see if we could afford it, but to see if it was fair too. And her recommendation to us was that, we go ahead and approve it. And I'm thinking, in practical terms, we kind of already did with the budget revision, but
I'm not gonna say that, but yeah.
but it's for all intents and purposes, I move that we approve county clerk's recommendations for increases, in a couple cases decreases in our spending for the election to bring us up to where the state norm, county norm.
Let's second.
All those in favor?
I have a question about the exempt employees though.
Oh, yeah. Well, that wasn't, you're right, we should go ahead and address that too. That's a separate matter, I think. So, you want to discuss it, or you want to discuss it? It's our belief, and has been, and the only reason it's not firmly in policy is that exempt employees, AKA salary employees, who help with elections or anything like overtime type work that would be a normal part of their jobs, should not be compensated overtime. Now, for election day, that would be a holiday for them if they weren't working. We think they should, or I think, this was my thoughts to Ruth, but I think they should be able to make up that day within the pay period, like take another day off or something, if that's feasible. If you have an employee that can't possibly, because of how the pay period lands, take a day off during the pay period because the election frame, then that would be within your discretion as the elected official. And not everybody that this would pertain to is under your response, like some of them are our staff that are supporting you.
Well, I think some of them work election day just with extra money, so, and I would leave that as an option, you know what I mean?
Yeah, oh, you mean for overtime instead of,
Well, and it's a flat rate, because on election day, you don't pay much time to pay the, I asked about this yesterday, because when I saw it, I was like, well, that's not right.
So if they work an election, like if someone in the courthouse, with the exception of my office,
Right.
decides to work as an election official, like Wilbur,
Right.
he gets paid the same rate that every other election official gets paid. Right. Now there are people in my office get their regular rate paid for that day. It ends up, because it is a 15-hour day, they do end up with some overtime.
are they exempt or not exempt?
I only have one employee who is exempt, is at the exempt level. Everybody's salaried, but there's only one employee that's over the salary cap of that.
Only the exempt ones would not be eligible for overtime. The non-exempt obviously would. So let me ask you this though, Ruth. So we use Wilbert as an example. So if Wilbert works as a volunteer on his day off, and he's getting paid like any other volunteer, he should still be entitled to a day off, shouldn't he?
Well, but he gets that holiday pay and then he's getting paid. So it's realistically like he's working for somebody else, is probably how you have to look at it. Because he's going to work for the county clerk's office as opposed to the county commission as an election worker. So for our purposes, he's off. For the county clerk's purposes, he's working. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
But like the stay away and that kind of stuff.
On a work day,
Right.
on a regular work day, and you're exempt, you should not get overtime because everybody has to stay late on their busy, like at the pool or, you know, wherever you're, during budget time or, you know, and you guys have your couple of surges and then you have a couple, you know, so you don't have to do it.
It's not, yeah.
Right, so, I mean, is that what you wanted me to address? Yeah, I'm glad you brought that up.
Yeah.
So I guess, so the amounts that you recommended, I move that we approve those.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
And then with regard to leave, I move that our policy be exempt employees who work on a work day, scheduled work day, should not receive overtime, but non-exempt should.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Our workers will be. Some of these churches that we don't pay any money to use for.
Yeah, no,
Polling place.
yeah, and that was unfair, yeah.
Yeah, there was never any, I think it was just the asking what would you charge, and like, you know, this is my bag, come use it. You know,
Yeah,
we're like, no,
free, some are like
we
$50.
want $200. I did mention the early voting locations. We pay one currently $250. We did not pay the other two, which includes Memorial Day. I don't know how we want to work. I feel like we should, if they have a separate budget, I don't see why we shouldn't. I mean, because Odie has to be there. We're all. But I mean, that's up to you guys.
But that would just be, I mean, it's all in the same fund.
That's, yeah, that's.
So you guys don't have to, but I mean, I allocated that in there in case you ever did. I went with the highest numbers possible. Honestly.
You know, one thing though that struck me during all this is we didn't have like water for our workers to drink and stuff like that. And I feel like that's something we might want to consider providing, especially in places where Sunny can't run to Little General and keep me from dehydrating to death while we're there. So maybe that money could be put towards something like that. Would you guys be cool with that? I mean, I feel like we should provide something for them. I mean, they're in there.
Election day is a very long day. We
It's
leave
a
here at
long
5
day.
a.m. and we're there until we were there till 11 o'clock, 11:30.
Well, will you look into the numbers for getting what you think is sufficient water? It's probably gonna be more than that amount, but I feel like we ought to do that. It's just, you know, especially, I mean, can you imagine what someplace there's nowhere to get something to drink and somebody's for the first time they haven't worked and they're there. Burn it up.
You can be hospitable.
Okay. Yeah, I mean, even if we're providing jugs of water, you know, that they can fill their own,
Yeah.
they can give them cups or whatever, but just something. There's no water fountain.
Yeah, did you give them bags to take with them anyway? Something like that.
Okay, cool.
Alan,
Well, we got just a couple more. We'll get the GST knocked out.
Yes, and I have an email for you with some.
Do they look good? Okay.
And we can add whatever pictures we want, so, but Tom saw it, and he actually had good ideas.
The first thing I said is Miss Taylor's approved it yet.
Miss Taylor hadn't seen it yet. She wasn't trying to get you recruited first. Trying to convince me. Have you already seen them too?
I like.
I had them pulled up this morning, I haven't, because she sent it last night, I haven't ordered it yet, but if y'all wanna look at it after the meeting. I'll pull it
Yes,
up.
if you can pull them up first. Okay, so this is the website hosting agreement. And we had already said that they could host it. I just wasn't happy with the design they gave us, but what we're talking about here is they submitted some higher speed designs for us, so.
oh, I didn't see those.
Well, I
Yeah,
haven't
that's what we
either.
were
They've
just
seen
talking
them,
about.
but she
No.
just
She
got them
sent
in and
last
she hadn't forwarded them to us yet. So we can talk. I mean, it's really gonna be a matter of whether we accept the ones we've already, that's part of this, or whether we contract out something. So they're gonna maintain it no matter, you know, who designs it, I guess, at some point. So I move we approve the website host agreement.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
least it's second, and you know, it's coming from both sides.
And I get a witness.
Hey, that was my reaction this morning. I heard the creak, but it was from the wrong side of the house.
Oh, that would have creeped me out right there. Okay, personnel manual.
Okay, so that was, what was that in there?
Mhm.
You all have discussed the vacation pay, how it is currently. So you have to be here
Oh, yeah.
your full probationary period, and you had talked about changing that policy, so it's retroactive.
Yeah, and there's a slight difference of opinion. We've discussed it a little bit. I don't think, so when I mentioned it to both of my colleagues, Tom brought up the point of exempt versus non-exempt. Like maybe let the accrual happen for employees that don't have a high turnover rate. Like exempt employees tend to have, because my concern of the whole thing is recruiting professional staff, like staff at the level, like at your level, at day report level, the GIS, 911 center director level, where we're trying to recruit quality staff who already have careers elsewhere and, probably have a ton of time off a year. And now we're saying, okay, well, you can work here 6 months before you can even accrue time off to take. And to me, that doesn't make it a very attractive option. I mean, we know our day report center director had to give up a ton of leave because her leave didn't transfer here, even though it was a similar type job. So, so I think, and I, I agree with that. I think as far as the turning people, turning over, I'm just saying, because, I told John, what we were talking about and why, and then when I talked to Tom and he raised that about high turnover employees, I'm leaning toward his view, like maybe make it for exempt employees, that they start accruing it when we hire them and then can start taking it after they hit the 6 month mark. But I think we would have to also come up with something for if they don't make it to the 6 month mark, they don't get paid out when they leave. And I'm not sure how legally we would.
So like realistically, until you hit 6 months, you wouldn't have it. But once you hit 6 months, you would go back and say, well, you were here and this is what you accrued.
Right,
Right.
for exempt employees.
Mhm. Did you ask Michael Taylor about it?
No,
Maybe let's just postpone
I
this
think
till
we need
we
to,
talk to Mike.
yeah. I think we need to ask him, but along those lines, what are your thoughts on the exempt?
Well,
versus
the exempt
non-exempt?
people should start accruing. The hourly folks, though, we need to do something where it makes it a little bit fairer for them too. Because,
We have more hourly than we do
Yeah.
exempt.
honestly, I think that we need to spend some time on this,
Mhm.
and it's not going to be ready for today.
That's fine.
You want to just put it back on the 10th?
Yeah,
Discuss with Mike.
yeah, and I think too, but keep in mind, like, as we think about this, like some of the options for hourly employees, and I agree, like, I'm not distinguishing quality of employee or anything. It's more recruitability and retainability of certain, jobs, but like for hourly employees, I would have no problem with them, taking flex time or comp time or something like that to be able to go to the doctor or, bank comp time, with their boss in advance before they take time off or something like that.
One thing to keep in mind too, all of our high turnover came from the 911 center. And now, hopefully, we've got some things changed where we'll establish a different pattern.
Oh my gosh.
So, I'd like to kick this down the road to the next agenda on the 10th. Give us some time to discuss it.
All right. So move to postpone to the 10th.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Yep.
Mhm.
We're all out now.
All right, Mr. Ballard.
Well, as of August 1st, the state of West Virginia has decided that we need to go to the 2018 building codes. So I put the ordinance together that I put together since I started this program 17 years ago. So I think we gave everybody a copy of it, what the actual code will be. Like I said, it comes into effect August 1st. 2015 code stops on August 1st, 2018 code starts.
This is just us adopting the state's code.
Correct. Yes. I brought a order of 2020 when they did it. I won't do this order.
We can go ahead. Why don't you let us see the language of the order and then we can decide, we can go ahead and vote and that way we stand for us.
That'll work.
Knocked out. It just says, we desire to adopt the state building code relating to minimum building and housing standards. The adoption is done to facilitate proper inspection activities related to construction and maintenance of buildings within the jurisdiction, within our jurisdiction, relating to public safety, health, and well-being. And then it's ordered and entered, basically. So it's has no additional language, it's just adopting the attached code, which you put in our packets. So,
Alan, oh, I'm
go
sorry.
ahead, John.
Alan, without reading everything, is there anything in here on these little sheds that people are buying and trying to live in? Okay.
And when people want to do that, like when they stamp, engineered drawing, well, people's brought it, and the first sentence on it, not for human habitation. So that means you can't. Those are just not, they're not a structure, they're an outbuilding.
Okay.
Now, they can build a tiny house if they want to build one, but they can't bring in one from on the side of the road and set it up, because they're not set up to do that.
Is there a difference in the structure of different corporations, different companies, out buildings?
Two by four walls, two by four walls on a scale.
The only reason I'm just had a conversation, I bought one that I thought was, I mean, it's got a good warranty on it and everything. It was Pine View, so I bought it. I shouldn't even do it. Yeah.
But it's still, if you look at their engineer drawing.
Oh, I know, I read it.
Human habitation.
I read, it says it right on the, it says it right on the building. There's a little
Right
piece of it.
on.
Yeah, it says right on
Not
the
suitable
building.
for residential living.
Yes.
Yeah.
Is a problem, yes, but it's a problem statewide for people for the. Now, when they want to get power on it, the power company requires them to set a pole on the outside. You can get power on your outbuilding. Problem is when the power company puts it on, then they move the kid in and or somebody else in. I don't know how to, I don't know that. That it's a problem would be bad. I'm not sure how to handle that. You get power on one, but it's almost like the sewer line. They have a pole on the outside of the building and they run it inside.
Mine
Power to
come,
your storage.
mine come with power.
Oh, did it?
Yeah, I bought it with power.
So that gets
But you call
around,
a power company, they'll set a pole.
All I
outside.
gotta do is plug it in.
Okay.
I get that, we got a plug and everything. I don't use it that way yet, but I'm going to.
So that's the problem running.
That's like you're going
so that gets around the inspection for electrical too. But that gets around your electrical.
Now, they still have to do the service inspection.
Okay.
They still have to pay $85 for the service inspection, but after that fact, 3 months down the road, then they get out of the house and put it in the door.
Better than the cellar, I guess.
Huh?
Better than the cellar.
What do we do when there are other violations? Because that would technically be a violation of the building code, right?
Yeah.
Technically, yes,
What do we do when others violate the building code?
send it to the prosecutor's office for them to address the problem.
You know how they normally do that? Do they send a letter or
Anything,
they normally don't do anything?
doesn't know. I think it's done. And the power company went full power. But you have to pay for the power. On a storage building, you have to pay for them to bring the power into you. And it's almost like on a demand meter. You won't pay X amount of dollars for this. But if you go down the road and see smoke, like pipe sticking out there and somebody's living in it, that has to go to the prosecutor's office. You know, I'm assuming that they want it.
Have they handled anything since Anthony's been in? Have you heard anything over there?
I just kind of gave up on it, but I couldn't get anywhere with anybody else on it.
Okay. Well, we can talk, he's in trial right now, but we can follow up with Anthony if we wanna
You'd say for
do
me,
anything. Yeah, I mean, I don't know
I mean.
what kind of enforceability
Right.
we have if we.
But I know everybody wants to put cabins in for Airbnbs and everything else, and that's what we're gonna do.
Well, I saw a new one on stilts yesterday and has a nice little balcony porch built on the side of it.
Yeah, I mean, they build them look like a house. And most of the time, when you pay for it, you pay a monthly fee for it. So I don't know how the company, you don't pay for it, when you everybody else is living in them. Everybody. I'm not sure how that works either. Even if they do not know that. But these are the new codes. Real decks, more stringent. Electrical code got a little bit more. Upgrade. On the energy code. Got
All right, well, I move that we approve an updated form of order we've all just reviewed with the updated code attached. Were there any significant changes?
No, probably the biggest thing is, and I think the fire association and the state fire marshal, before you have a service on your house, when you get service, if you was within 6 feet of a panel, you didn't have to have a disconnect. Well, the fire marshal's office and the fire association and all first responders said, we got to be able to turn the power off immediately. So now it's required that a disconnect has to be on the outside of the house. That's probably the biggest change that's there, and every circuit in the house, any 120 amp circuit now has to be arc fault protected. It used to be just bedrooms, now it's every circuit. So does it raise the price of the panel? Yes. Yes.
Does it reduce the risk of fire?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. It's all about life safety law. When the industry decides that we've had too many problems not doing it, and they address this. I mean, we still, we've got 2018, I mean, we're in 2022 nationwide, but the state of West Virginia decided to do 2018. Well, I like it, we just fall behind because it takes us 18 months to adopt it. Building code, so it's taking them 18 months to get this out. So, when we do that, it just puts us far behind instead of trying to do an emergency order every time the code changes every 3 years. So let's do 2018 right now. You know, they may look at it later. But I have a solution. I think we're pretty good where we're at right now. I mean, a lot of times it's just the changes that are in the building code clarifying a lot of things. not anything that have to be, I mean, the decks, which the decks are the only leading cause of deaths and accidents in the house. So they address that. And there's problems with decks. So they've added probably 15 pages of building code for decks, roofs.
Do we have a, this is a question that came up just when I'm out and about, but did we used to offer some access online so people could tell who was applying for building permits? Is it still there? Okay.
Angela, she showed it to me.
Yeah, look at it, you can actually do a permit online, pay for it and everything.
Okay.
I think just the way it looks on that website, because it's that new software.
Yeah.
It looks different than all.
It just looks good.
Okay.
But it
I'll
is
circle
there.
back.
I mean, loans used to come by and ask me for all the building permits, and everything, I'm using this up, but if you're dealing with in Fayette County, you buy your stuff from those anybody. They have it.
Pretty much, yeah.
So, I mean, but they still wanted to see, you know, so, and I don't maybe the information after anything, charging for running copies off. Okay, I'll give you the permits for the last 30 days. You know, go through there and look at it. Maybe a formal request should be issued and charged for us printing it off for one day. I mean, that's not a fun day, you know, see if anybody has any questions or comments or anything, so.
You have any questions?
No, I'm good.
Okay, so my motion on the table is that we approve the updated, that we adopt the 2018 state standards and go ahead and approve an updated order once the dates are filled in.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so you have permission to stamp. Yes.
That's what?
You have the order.
This is the old one, isn't it?
Yeah, they're just, she needs the language. back.
Oh, okay.
All right,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you.
Okay, let's take a break before the 10 o'clock bid opening.
Thank you.
I just want, I don't know if I'm right with this or not. I came for a hearing today about.
That is at 10:30, and it's also, I think there's a high likelihood we are going to refer it to a fiduciary commissioner, so there's not going to be a real contested hearing, but it is set for 10:30.
Okay.
We'll try to, but you might want to stick around, because once we do this 10 o'clock, that we have to do it 10 o'clock, if we're finished, if the parties are available, we'll go ahead and get moving sooner.
Okay. Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
She wasn't. I don't know if she's made it or not.
Who?
Her
She was,
in Corliss, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, her road, she called, her road is underwater, and it was repaired at some, it's been washed out, and it was repaired with a metal grate and gravel over it. And so until the water goes down, they don't know if the grate's still there or not. So she had to wait.
Oh, no.
Yeah.
So what's, do we have bids?
10 o'clock there. We got 3.
Bid openings for the Meadow River Trail, Rail Trail, Russellville Bridge. Before we open, I will say that I had a call from, I'm presuming one of the bidders, I don't know if he could have been Ben Morgan, but he said that of the bidders at the meeting, at the pre-bid meeting, I guess, that they had,
What's that now?
Ben Morgan called me last week and he told me that of the bidders they had at the pre-bid meeting,
Mhm.
that something had happened. I guess there are only a couple of people, these are prefabricated bridges, and that only a couple of different manufacturers make it. Is this all, does this ring a bell? That their prices, I guess, were about to dramatically change. And they were wanting more time for the deadline to turn it in. They were wanting to be able to turn it in. The deadline was Friday, was it Friday or Thursday?
Last Friday, I think.
Yeah, and they just wanted to extend the deadline through, I guess, today's bid opening to be able to get those, have their bids reflect the updates and prices, or maybe they didn't get prices, I'm not sure. It was something like that, and I asked them to reach out to Matt and the team. Did they?
Dan was the only contractor that expressed that concern. We talked to we provided them with a list of big manufacturers that built this product. Ben's concern was they were withholding pricing until the last minute, and they had advertised three weeks, and it's been an extra. We actually advertised longer than we normally do. I don't know what the issue was. He was the only one that
Was the issue that at one time, I'm just going off memory from a conversation months ago.
Yeah.
Was it due to the fact that DOT had certain specifications on a bridge and now that DOT wasn't involved, the specifications a little different? Was that?
We follow the same design criteria, but
There was a certain thing that happened on the other bridge on the
Yes,
bidding.
sir.
Could you explain that to us, me and the commission? So they maybe that's what he's talking about.
and this is what I was told was that they had approached the bridge manufacturer for the last bridge, and because there were several contractors approaching that manufacturer, they withheld the pricing until a couple of days before bid opening. And so it only happened a ballpark estimate of the cost of the bridge. And so there was a lot of back and forth between the manufacturer and the contractor over pricing. That was all worked out. They didn't claim any positive runs on their current project. That issue kind of reflected in what I did with this project. In the plans, I had listed optional, I need a bridge manufacturer, contact phone numbers. So that one manufacturer couldn't provide it. Didn't like it, and then to go to new seller. So there's plenty of opportunity, and I've talked to manufacturers about this, saying, from hearing this, is this true? And the ones that I've talked about, so,
No, it had nothing to do with the specs and the change on the bridge. Okay. I thought at one time that it was changed because of something and the specs changed for some reason. Maybe,
I think that was before it was switched.
Okay.
yeah.
Okay.
He suggested to me that there was a concern that was shared by the group of contractors, and so I said, if that's true, you need to go back to Matt and have them approach us with that concern. If it's the group of contractors, everybody agrees there's an issue and everybody's already been at pre-bid and they want an extension that's not going to affect this date, I need to know about it in time to call an emergency meeting. And I never heard anybody get back to us after that. So I'm guessing that, that they worked that out. Will you unmute Matt?
He's unmuted.
Okay. Hey, Matt, did you hear anything about this last week?
I did not. I mean, just when Roger emailed me about Ben, but like I said, as Roger said, he was the only one that had a concern. I'm not aware of anything that the group expressed. We ran into a similar issue on the Greenbrier County side where they waited to the last minute to give prices. I don't know why they do that, but they did this. And Roger, I'm not sure if it's the same bridge manufacturer, so I don't know if it's just a standard operating procedure for some of these contractors, but they did that on that prefabricated bridge for on the Greenbrier County section.
Yeah, and that particular manufacturer, we not utilize that as a basis for design for this project. When Ben had expressed a concern about it, I said, don't use it. Yeah. But we have provided a list of alternate bridge manufacturers. And that's not saying that those are the only ones that can provide a price or to build a bridge for the project. It's just in the list here. This is the start.
How many was on that list?
5.
Okay, so number,
They were in plan. No, that's in plan.
okay.
So,
Well, that resolves it to my satisfaction. I didn't hear back from Ben, so
yeah.
I'm assuming he had it resolved however
Right.
he wanted. But that, my recommendation to him was to go back to you guys, and if it was a group concern, to have one of you approach me, and then I would talk to the others about an emergency meeting if it seemed necessary.
And we certainly would have done that and recommended that it's going to bid. And there have been more people calling and saying, hey, I'm having problems getting the price, or hey, I can't get a hold of this manufacturer. If we heard more of that, I'd say, okay.
And he wasn't asking for today's bid opening to be extended. He was only asking for past Friday, like up until the bid opening, to be able to submit. That was it. So, all right, well, it sounds like we just need to move on forward here.
You want them all handed to you or separate them? Don't matter.
Well, I'll read them off and then we'll each open one.
Okay.
How about that? So we've got one from Dan Hill Construction. It was received on the 22nd at 2:46 p.m. But that was within the, what was the deadline? It was the 22nd at 3. Okay, so Dan getting it in under the wire. I'll give that to you since John does work for Dan. ALL Concrete Inc. out of Alcon, out of Mount Storm, West Virginia, received July 22nd at 12:13 p.m. And then we have Sherman Morton Inc. out of Barbersville, West Virginia, received on the 22nd at 12:12 p.m. So all of these were within the deadline. This guy, you want to use it?
Yeah, I used to have something in here.
Well, I might.
You may,
I took your sharp off this one.
did you take your box away? Yeah.
Thank you.
Take my pictures away, they take my canning stuff away, now they take the sharp objects away. And I can't even use this thing.
Once I figured out how to use them, I love them.
Oh, that's this last little leg.
This was in my swag bag on that. Keep that to you. Just go to the bottom line. So. Base bid.
Okay, ALL Con, $981,245. They have their A1A and everything in. That's their insurance and contractor's license.
All that, okay, so the one I have, Sherman Morton Inc. out of Barbersville, its estimate is $1,207,744.44.
Dan Hill Construction is $1,503,184.
I didn't hear that one, Tom.
$1,503,184. $503,184. These bids, he has to take and look, make sure.
So they're all consistent and stuff, right? Okay, so. They all are, maybe I'll miss the deadline. And then are you gonna come back to the next year? You gonna look at it now?
Well, the only, I'll take them back and well, I just want to make sure that they are using the correct form of proposal before I part it. So did all three of them have the red
Mine did.
or just?
Yes.
Okay.
Yours?
Has mine.
Yeah.
So do you think you can have that done by the 8/10 meeting? or-
Absolutely.
Okay, so we can put it on the agenda for
Yep.
August 10th. That'll be the bid award.
Yeah,
You're welcome.
thanks a lot. Thanks, Matt.
Yep, thank you.
Oh, Becky is on there. Thank you, Becky. So,
Did I email you this?
she's from the one law firm, and then the other ones are the Conrad. Oh, God, let's see. Let's take a quick break. 'Cause
He
we-
was around the corner here.
A trial today.
Oh, okay. maybe
Yeah, there is a-
Okay, maybe
yeah.
that's what it was.
There's a jury trial.
Okay, maybe that's what it was.
Yeah, upstairs.
Okay.
Because I had one. All right. We're going to get started early at 10:20. Michael, all the parties are here. Well, the lawyers are here, and one of the lawyers, Mr. Conrad, has his client present, and the other counsel kind of took our signal and did not bring her clients with her. Can you explain to my colleagues on the record kind of the code section that you brought to my attention yesterday?
Yes, absolutely. First, just for context, this is a petition to remove an administrator of an estate. When such actions are filed, it's within the purview of the county commission to handle those matters. But the legislature in their wisdom realized that maybe the county commission would need a little assistance or help in dealing with these matters and passed a provision called West Virginia Code 4437. And what it does is it permits the county commission, whenever any controversy arises in connection with the probate of any will, to make a motion on its own, or one of the parties could make a motion to refer this matter to a fiduciary commissioner to hear proof of the issue, to make findings thereon, and to advise the commission on the law governing the decision of the matter. So what I would recommend to you is that you would exercise your right under 4437 to make a motion to refer this to fiduciary commissioner so they can hear the evidence, make findings, and present their findings of facts, conclusions of law to you all, so that you can review that and either accept or adopt those findings, modify them, or reject them and make your own findings.
Okay, and is under that section of the code, I just texted you a question. Take a look at it.
There is not a dollar amount required, or there's no dollar amount. It's a blanket. It's a blanket provision that allows you to do it whenever. It simply says whenever any controversy arises in connection with the probate of any will. So that's what we have here. This is clearly a controversy that is arising in connection with the probate of the will. And therefore, under this code section, upon motion by the county commission, it can be referred to a fiduciary commissioner.
Okay, so, yes, Mr. Conrad?
I don't have the section in front of me, but I listened to your reading. This isn't a contest concerning a will. There are two estates, neither of the parties, neither of the decedents had a will. My clients had to go to the trouble of posting bond because she was appointed administrator to each of these estates, and she had to post bond in each. Does it also mention something other than contest with the will?
Yeah, it also deals with the appointment or qualifications of personal representatives, guardians, committees, or curators, or with the settlement of any accounts of any fiduciary. So I think under the provisions of that, it would fall within that provisions there.
Just wanted that clarification, because if we were only talking about wills, it wouldn't be applicable here.
I appreciate that. I was paraphrasing the reading of the statute there.
Do you have any objections or any other comments?
Well, it'll have to be heard by someone, whether it's a fiduciary commissioner with the recommendation of the commission. I don't have any strong objection to it. I'm sure the other side that they don't even have their clients here, but no, we don't have a strong objection to it.
Okay, yeah, and the other side knew that this was a legal advice that we were receiving and would probably likely follow.
By the way, I did as well. He was kind enough to call me, but I'm always thrilled to come before the commission.
Just walk down the street and say hi. All right, well, I agree. I agree with our council's recommendation. I think that especially given the fact that, and one thing you guys might not know, part of the issue here is that the administratrix who's present here today tried to enter a home that belonged to her mother, and another sibling occupies the home in order to inventory its contents, which is part of the process. You have to create an inventory of what the estate is, file it with the clerk's office, that sort of thing, and was unable to gain entry because the sibling prohibited it. At the time, she didn't have the paperwork to prove that she had the right to enter. So when the sheriff's department was called, she wasn't able to prove her right to enter. And that's something I think may be able to be worked out now that you've got some paperwork. But significantly, the sibling who occupies that home is not a party and is not one of the clients on the other side. So there are 9 children, right? And so we have one who's the administratrix who signed up to do all of this and can't, is getting blocked by another, but that is not one of the people moving for her removal. It's 6 of the others. So 2 of the siblings aren't involved and one is the occupant of that home. That was another thing that concerned me when Michael walked me through this yesterday, is that, you know, if that person occupying the home was a party and was here in the courtroom, then we could at least get some information, maybe try to get some cooperation, but without having her officially at the table. And I'm not even sure, and we haven't answered the question, that this commission has the ability to order her to give access. We do think the sheriff has authority based on the magistrate court order, or based on even the information you have from the county clerk appointment paperwork. But I'm not sure this commission has the authority to order that anyway. So we thought it best to give it to a fiduciary commissioner and give you time to get that paperwork to the sheriff and try to get in there and see what you can work out at that level. And they, you know, fiduciary commissioners are lawyers and they're trained to do this. And while I just coincidentally am a lawyer, this body is not typically full of lawyers and with the expertise to get in the weeds like a fiduciary commissioner. That's why we hire them and pay them. So that's to explain my reasoning. But for that reason, I move that we accept our counsel's advice and refer this to the fiduciary commissioner.
A second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
If I may, we have no objection, petitioners have no objection. For the record, what would be the timeline? I know that the
county is short on fiduciary commissioners at the moment. Are we looking at an order around the August 10th, the next hearing date, or what?
We are going to appoint additional fiduciary commissioners on August 10th. We'll reach out to the one that's currently appointed to see, because the other one resigned some time ago, so he may have too much stacked up, but we do have applicants, and we just haven't had them on the agenda. It just kind of got lost. So we already have it set for August 10th, and we'll appoint somebody then. And if Phil's not full, we'll go ahead and refer to him, but if he is, we'll appoint Paul Clay. Just for your information, was Paul and Larry Hare who signed up for it.
Could you direct it to the current fiduciary commission so we can get things moving?
We can if he's not too full right now, because again, Jamie resigned some time ago, and we just kind of, it fell through the cracks that we haven't appointed, because both Larry and Paul applied a couple months ago at least. So we'll call him first and see if he can take it. We'll refer it to him. Anything else on this? Okay. Any other business?
No.
Colleagues? All right, motion adjourned.
Second.
You are adjourned.